Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. So, update. It's really close. An update on the Pulsar, which I didn't think we would have so soon, mainly because I didn't think they'd done any work. So they've had the car for 2 weeks, and then I messaged them yesterday and said, "Oh, hey, any updates? Have you at least pulled the engine? Because I haven't heard anything. You've had it for 2 weeks. What's going on?" Because they initially said that they would let me know and I could go up and film stuff. Turns out they pulled the engine already. They've stripped the engine already, and we're going up to give them a spare head, because I've got a head on an SR20DET, which came with the car, but I don't know if it's the right one, so I don't really know what's going on. But we're going up basically to give them this head, and then that will sort of continue the work that's going on with this car. So just to give you a quick rundown of what they told me, and I might ask them to sort of reiterate it whilst we're there. They've stripped it down. The long and short of it is basically it was bodged together. It was just quickly chucked together real quickly, just so people can go and. So it's a mess, like a real bad rebuild. The head and the block were not flat; they weren't machined, which means that the head gasket's failed, obviously. Which is good, actually. That's kind of what we thought was going to be, and that's not anywhere near as bad as it could be. But as long as the block's not cracked or anything like that, we're okay. But that's why basically they weren't machined properly. They weren't flat faces. They couldn't go together. So they were always going to lift. They were always going to. It was just an accident waiting to happen. Obviously, I hurried that along with the coolant dumping and stuff like that. But you know, it is what it is. Apparently there was rust inside. The pistons were forged already, which is kind of good, but also doesn't really matter because they're being replaced, so who cares, I guess. Kind of pointless information at this point in time. There's a whole bunch of screws and bolts which are like all over the place. They're messed up. There's like cross-threading and all this kind of stuff. It is a bit of a mess, but the price tag of the rebuild hasn't drastically gone up with this information, which is good. And so side note, I've also bought a new crank. So I've had to buy a new crank, mainly because the old one's got some pitting in it, and it was either they could get it machined, but if you keep taking material off the crank, not wise, not particularly the best thing to do. So I've got a new one of them on order, so when that arrives, which will be this week, we'll take that up as well. I'll show you all of that. We'll go up there. That's about it, really. That's kind of the update. We're going to go there now, take a look at it, show you the sad engine bay. Sorry. Just show you the sad engine bay with it all out. But it's with the right hands. It's in the right hands with the right hands. So there you go. Update Pulsar GTiR rebuild. Yay, go. Right, so here we are. Horsham Developments. Very questionable focus. Not gonna lie. Don't really like that. That is not fun. But here I mean, it's fun for someone. Not my cup of tea. And here we have the spare head. Still a bit rusted and stuff like that, but I'm sure that can all be cleaned up. It's really just to see whether this will be a flat mating surface or not. So here we are, ladies and gents. This is the engine, and this is Jez. Are you the owner of Horsham?
Yeah. So, everyone gets confused because we're Horsham Developments, but not based in Horsham.
Yeah, so some people actually, some people said that actually.
Yeah.
So Horsham Developments is a motorsports racing garage.
We do some racing, tuning, that sort of stuff.
And I know them because they have looked after my 370Z, but now, well, this is the engine. So yeah, the beauty of the GTiR. So do you want to explain exactly what happened? Because there was something interesting on this, wasn't it?
So you brought the car over to us and explained that it overheated, and the radiator had kind of swelled up, the ends had come off, that kind of stuff. So it was fairly obvious that it was a head gasket problem, but we stripped the engine all down just to see what had actually happened. And over here we've got the head gasket that we pulled off, and you can see the quite obvious problem there, where it's all been blown out. On the block, on the face of it, doesn't look too bad really. Although this surface isn't flat anymore, it looks fairly flat as you just look at it with the naked eye.
But it was Graham, wasn't it? He said that there's some interesting sort of scoring across there. Is that right?
Well, I think it's where the head gasket has moved. It's just scored the
right.
here, and there's obviously.
But a machine of that, a skim, should.
Yeah, so we should be able to get that machined flat, depending exactly on how warped it is. There's a limit to how much you can take off.
Right.
But it should be okay. The bores at the moment did have aftermarket JE pistons in it, but they were at the standard size.
So that's positive. That's good.
Well, it means that the block hasn't been machined or bored out yet. So
it means we can do it.
Yeah, that's right.
So that is positive.
So what we'll do is we've measured the roundness of the bores, and they're all a bit oval, which is pretty normal for these. We will get that bored out by 0.5 millimetre and put slightly oversized pistons in there.
Oh, okay.
Which means that everything will be as it should be, really.
Yeah.
Piston rings will seal properly, and it'll all work as it should.
I think the real bonus of this though is that because this is an aluminium block, isn't it? And there was no cracking; it all was fine. Because these are prone to going. I've heard if they overheat, is that right?
They can do. So on these blocks, it's an aluminium block with liners that are cast into the block. So the actual surface of this is iron. If you chop them in half, it's like a couple of mil thick, and it's kind of pressed. Not pressed, sorry. It's cast in the block. Right. And then it's machined down. But yeah, generally they're pretty strong.
Yeah. And so what was the interesting thing about the heads? Because I say heads because I brought a spare one up, which I've sort of already told everyone about.
This is the head that was on the engine, and it's in not too bad shape. But we've got like some pitting marks around the sealing area on the combustion chambers there. It's all been a bit lashed up. So these are what looks like just chopped off bits of threaded bar with the wrong thread pitch on.
Great. It's been really looked after, this car, hasn't
it? But the rest of it's not too bad shape. I mean, we haven't had the valves out yet. We'll see what the seats are like, but we expect that they'll probably recover fairly well. Same with the crank. The crank's actually okay, but the whole engine looks like it's been stood around for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Because there's quite a lot of corrosion here, and there's kind of pitting on the journal here. You probably won't be able to see it on the camera, but you can feel it with your fingernail. So I understand you've bought a new crank for it anyway.
Yeah, so I've got a new crank. You can't get OEM ones anymore. They're all aftermarket. So I've got a new crank on order. So that'll be. I'll bring that up on Friday, and sort of, we'll do another sort of video on that. Well, I will anyway. Yeah. But what was because we've got the other parts over here. Yeah. They were really rusted, weren't they?
All the other engine bits are here. So this is one of the con rods and pistons. So pistons are in fairly good shape. They're made by JE.
So that's good?
Positive? They're pretty good. But whoever built the engine just put standard sized pistons in on whatever state the old balls were in. And the whole engine's been stood around for ages because you can see the rust on
that's awful,
on the
isn't
con
it?
rod.
That's really bad.
But I think you said it was like 7 years or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it'd been sawn for about 7 years, and judging by the state of that, it is genuinely not actually moved for about 7 years.
I think it's just moisture's got in there and everything's gone rusty, which will explain the state of the crank as well.
Yeah.
The bearings are a bit worn, so it all just needs a refresh, which is what we're doing.
Yeah. Perfect. And then there wasn't much else really. There's not. So I bought the spare head up, but that's probably not going to work either by the looks of it.
So with this head,
it's exactly the same on the other side, wasn't
it?
Same.
So these have been
especially
banged
this
out to
one.
M12. That one's very oval, so this would all need to be repaired. And to be honest, I think the original one's in better condition than this one. So.
Yeah, got an absolute junk.
And we haven't got any of the shims or anything, so that'll need to be done.
Oh, okay. Well.
But,
yeah,
that's it, I think. Turbo's down there, haven't inspected that properly yet. We'll just double check that that's okay. There's no reason to think there's anything wrong with it, but that was the copper pipe that we were talking about.
Oh yeah, so what was that? So someone basically, so you got braided lines, but then someone's used a copper pipe as well.
Yeah, I'm not really sure.
Why would you do that?
Exactly.
What an absolute joke.
And the problem with it is that it's completely unsupported, so that will just vibrate like that, and eventually it'll crack.
Well, that'll crack, because I mean, that's not exactly, copper's not massively strong, is it?
No, it work hardens like most metals. So.
Oh, Jesus. Well, good. I mean, it's obviously in the right hands. So I'm happy about that. It's all. Yeah. It's all positively moving forwards. So there you have it, ladies and gents. really thankful for Jez to actually come on camera and explain it all, to be honest. I did ask the chap who dismantled the engine if he would be willing to, but obviously not everyone wants to be on camera, it's not for everyone. But really thankful for Jez to actually hop on and just explain it to everyone. But as you could tell, like you could see from the head gasket, like it's just wrecked. Awful. Like that car has not been looked after. I mean, it'd been sawn for 7 years, so it's kind of, you know, what do you expect, really? But the rods, how rusty the rods were. What an absolute state. But it's good now because now they've got everything that they need to start, you know, make some progress on it. So now they know that the head which I brought up, basically they don't think that they'll use the head that I just brought up, which is a bit of a shame, but whatever. They might have to helicoil the head which was on the car. But they're going to get moving on that, get the new crankshaft in, so I'll bring that up when that arrives. I'll document that, you'll see that, because that'll be interesting anyway. It'll be nice to compare, or at least see a brand new crankshaft. Yeah, good. About what was sort of expected, plus maybe a little bit more work. And I've told you guys, I think I've told you guys how much this is costing. Or we'll do a big breakdown at the end, because I think you guys will find it interesting. But it's with the right people, it's in the right hands, they're looking after it now, it's all good. It's very sad to see the Pulsar there with no heart. The heart has been removed from my car. The heart's the engine. Just, yeah, you get it?
I got that.
Alright, good. Anyway, so guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to support the rebuild, we've got Patreon in the description box. Please do head on over there. Because every little helps. Like this is, you know, costing a significant amount of money, so it'd be really good if you guys could support the channel a little bit further. Outside of that, not really much else to go into. Follow me and Nick over on Instagram. You can find the links to our car Instagrams in the description box. But cheers guys, love you all.